What's up, everybody? Aaron Seckman here. Today I am going to do some editing in Logic to a guitar track that I think needs some tightening up. I'm going to quantize it, not using flex time, but using transient markers and slicing at transient markers, and then quantizing those new regions. And I'm going to do that on a DI recording of a guitar, and then I'm going to re-amp that guitar, sending the DI, the new edited DI track, out of the interface back into my pedal board and back into Logic to get a new sound for that particular part. I recorded the guitar on two tracks, one on the DI track and one through the pedals and onto its own track. So I have the original recording with all the wet recording, the affected recording, and I have the DI recording of the same take, or takes. Alrighty, on this DI track, I have these two regions which I've already joined their edits in these sections, and then this one I have yet to do. So this is my comp. So before I go to the edit window down below, I'm going to join these regions by just doing J, create the region. And I don't know what it's like in other Logics, but in my Logic I can only split by transient markers for a region that's a certain length in bars. But I was able to do it, I didn't count the bars, but I think I should be okay with a region this big. Okay, so now that I have that piece, I can press E and go down to this window here. So I'm in the file section here, not the track. I've clicked on the region, and I go here and detect transients, and then it propagates all these little markers. And what I have to do is I have to go, okay, so I'm at the beginning. Here, let's just double check. That's what we're doing here. This is what we're, oh, Logic doesn't want to play because I'm recording my screen. Let's see if I solo this, if we can play it and demonstrate. Okay, so that's playing. Next thing I have to do is I have to check all these transients. Make sure they are where they're supposed to be. Here's one I have to move over. So the next thing I have to do is go through and make sure I'm not missing any transient markers, and make sure everything that is there is in the right spot. There's some flamming that I anticipate here because I'm playing a double stop, and it looks like it's doing a good job of placing the transient marker on the first one and not the second one, so that's good. All right. Looks good. This is just eighth notes, so should be pretty straightforward. Zoom, 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 zoom. Okay. All right, so those all look good. If I needed to, I could add a new one, or let's see, how do you delete? I don't know. Okay. So now that I have that, so those are in the file now. Logic has assigned those markers to that recording, not to the region, but to the recording. That's the way I understand it anyway. So now what I have to do is I have to do a key command, which I had to make up because I don't think, well, there wasn't one assigned. I don't know if it comes assigned, but I had to make one. I had to search for, I searched the word transient here. If you go up to key commands edit and you type in transient, you get where is it? Slice at transient market. So I had to make this key command here, which is my function key, control, and T. So when I do function control T, and I'm on the file, or on the region that I was working on, I get too long. Oh, okay. So this was what I was saying before. Please note that the slice at transient markers can only be applied to regions of up to 32 bars length. So, not a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the chorus, I'm going to split that, and then I'll do it again in 2 sections. Okay, so now I have all these little regions. Look at that. First thing is I'm gonna, since I have them all selected still, I'm gonna grab the end. I need to make sure here that I'm not snapping. I just snap the samples and move this way. I can go pretty far because there's no reverb in this. It's just a DI track. And I'm not grouping this track with anything else. If I had some phase locked audio, I would have to have a group, I think is how that works. And so you could edit them both at the same time with the group on. But I don't have that because I'm just doing the DI. I'm going to scrap the old one once I get through this process. So the next thing, I want to make sure that I have space. Look at that. I want to make sure I have space. See, this is weird. Why did that? What is going on here? Look at that. Here, let's undo that. Let's do it one section at a time. So let's do the chorus first. Not sure why it's doing that. Oh, it's probably because one of the pieces is so small. Do something like that, and I'm gonna get back that audio, so don't worry about losing like atmosphere there or something. So I'm just going through to make sure I have a space between all my regions. So I want my crossfade to happen in the in-between part. Actually, you know, I do kind of want it to be as close to the transient, but without having any overlap. So just eyeballing this for any overlap. I think it's a good idea to have your crossfade pretty much right in front of the transient. Alright, so that looks good. And then I'll do the other side. That's why it's good to always have markers for your sections. So I'm just going to zoom out and then grab everything up until that chorus marker. Okay, and do the same thing. Just moving tail back and scan. This was not the fast part. This was 8th notes. The other one I did was 16th notes. But it worked out fine. So that's that. Now, what I should be able to do is select all these, go to my list editors window, and I want to be in event, and then I want to pick 8th notes because that's the smallest division of that part, and it's just gonna quantize it. And if I had already had 8 notes there selected, I could just hit the Q and that would quantize everything that was selected. So now we should have all these regions should all be on 8th notes now, or to the closest 8th note. I need to see my grid. Am I not viewing my grid? I am viewing my grid. Okay. So I guess I don't see the grid because everything's on the grid. Okay, so let me have a listen to this. Is there any space at all there? No space. Is there? I think there's space. Tiny space. So that space changed because it quantized. So you might have to do this a couple times. So the quantizing sounds good. But I'm going to undo it. And I guess I'll do it like I did before. I'm not sure if it was just in one section or the other. So this little sliver, don't want that. I think that sliver's messing up my stuff. So let me get rid of that sliver and just check and see if that was part of the transient. I hate the way Logic zooms sometimes. Yeah, that was part of the transient. I guess I missed that. So just gonna drag this out. Okay, right on it. So I did the left side. Let me do this side. Okay. And cut off some more of that. I could quantize the two sections separately. Let's try that. So I'll just hit this Q, and then I'll go select other side. And hit the Q, and let's take a listen to that. So to do the crossfade, I'm going to select all these, and then I'm going to go to edit, and there's probably other ways to find this, but if you go under the trim menu, you get edit region, start to previous region. And I guess I probably want to do everything except the first one, because I don't want to move that over here. So go to edit, trim, region, start to previous region, and then I to get the inspector, and I can do a equal power crossfade, and just like probably 5. I think that's samples, milliseconds. I think it's milliseconds. And that should be good. Just have to do this one. Should have had that selected, but there it is. So we got crossfades all the way down. So they're not as close to the transient as I would do if I were doing it manually, but I don't think we're going to hear them because there's no ambience on the track anyway. So we're just crossfading noise really. So let's hear that. So that seems to be working. So I'm just going to record down my new edit through my reamp and all that. And I will be needing to do that to the first 2 sections here. Although I think I just copied and pasted it anyway, so should be able to just do that with my new version. Here we go. While that's laying down, I'm just going to go over the signal path here. So it's coming out of the back of my interface, Steinberg UR44C, which was a little confusing figuring out the outputs, I have to say. The back has 2 stereo line out pairs, and line out 2 is actually outputs 3 and 4. So when I routed to 3 and 4 in Logic, it comes out line outs left and right of line out 2. And that was a big problem, and well, it took me a while to figure it out anyway. So that comes out of there, goes into the radial in the back, and then this instrument out usually lives here in the DI through. So I come in with my guitar, and then it goes directly back out into this red cable here. Usually it comes out of there and comes out of the red cable to go into the pedal board, which starts here with the fuzz. So we have the radio going into the fuzz. It's not on, but this is just my pedal board. Got fuzz, vibe, a switcher, a true bypass switcher for my wah. Then that comes out. That comes out of the wah, out of this, back into the switcher, into this section, which starts with the East River Drive, GE7, an OD3. And I don't really mess with the settings here, that's why that's taped, and this one I don't really mess with, it's either on or off. And then this one is a rehoused OD3, so another OD3. A milk box, what is it called? I think it's a milk box compressor. It's a DOD pedal. And then so that one I just mess with the input usually, which it has like auto gain function. And then this is a first act delay that I modded, which is kind of cool. Just it's digital, but it sounds kind of analog-y. And Angry Charlie, Microstop 50G, which I'm using mostly as a sort of first clean sound, I guess. It's got an amp modeler in there that I'm using, which I don't normally use. I normally use this exclusively for my amp modeling, but for my clean sounds, I am not using this in the way it normally gets used. I'm not using the amp models in here because for some reason I can't get a super clean sound using this. So I'm using this for a super clean sound. So I've got an amp model in there. I've got a booster just for a level balancing, a compressor, parametric EQ, and this I don't normally use, but I've got it in there because I was trying to get the most finished sound I could through this reamp process, so I don't have to use as many plugins. And I kind of knew what I was going for based on what I was doing to that original recorded guitar to try to make it better. So I did a little in here just to get it further down the road. Here's the reverb, one of the reverbs that is part of the main sound of that, and that's one I had to turn down. Let's see, before these two, it comes out of here and goes into this switcher, which has a few other pedals, delay, Swedish death metal sound, which I haven't quite used very much. Use that on bass actually sometimes. Chorus, and then that goes into, after the micro stomp, goes into here, which I have on my Pure Clean preset, which is I think it's just either a power amp out or I've got the amp model bypassed, and it's just going into a cab. So it's got one EQ, and then the cab and the settings for the cab, which is a US clean. And that gives me the best clean sound for this no amp setup that I have going here. I'm still learning how to do YouTube videos. This is not smooth at all. So I hope those little tricks were helpful for you. Doing that manually would have taken quite a long time. Doing this sort of editing on that section with the part that is 16th notes would have taken a long time. Would have been very annoying. And so I'm glad that I didn't do that. I'm glad I figured this out. And I think this is probably going to become a regular part of my process when it comes to guitar recording. Because, you can only do so many takes before you wear out. So yeah. There you have it. Tightness personified. Well, I hope that turned out well. We'll see in the edit. No clue if any of that's going to sound or work at all. My YouTube skills need a lot of practice. Sorry about the hiss last time. Tried to fix that this time. We'll see how it goes. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.